We are 4 days away from 2025 at the time of me recording, and it's crazy to think that 2021 is about to be 4 years ago once we reach 2025. And speaking of 2021, that year was the year of COVID. We were in the official second year of the COVID-19 pandemic, and to be honest with you, those 2 years of 2020 and 2021 I would really like to forget about, because not only did COVID really mess up a lot of our lives, but man, COVID was very boring. We were in the house 24/7 and many people were dying left and right. So I choose to not remember those times. And 2021 in particular, to be honest with you, when we're talking about movies and TV shows, they did not really produce that many banger movies and TV shows because of the pandemic. So we were really seeing some mediocre, mid, and passable TV shows and movies, but there were some outliers in 2021 alone in terms of producing great content, in my honest opinion, such as Spider-Man No Way Home, Shang-Chi, The Suicide Squad, and Superman and Lois. But out of those 4 picks that I just said, I'm purposely not saying the 5th banger that I'm about to talk about, and that 5th banger is a show called Squid Games. And man, when I saw Squid Games, the entire world was talking about Squid Games. When I saw Squid Games, the entire globe, every single person that was living at the time were obsessed with Squid Games. So my brother and I, we just basically decided on checking out Squid Games. And once we did that, man, that kind of changed our entire year, because we were so hooked on Squid Games. We were binge watching Squid Games from morning till night, because Squid Games at the time was just so peak in terms of the story, in terms of how they handled the characters, and in terms of just the entire vibe the show gave off, because the entire show was about human trafficking, but it's kind of willing human trafficking because of the recruiter. He's always going to these homeless people. He's always going to these people that have debts that they cannot even think of paying off these debts. So once the recruiter comes to them and basically offers them a deal by playing a game, either by playing dachi or playing some other type of games, once the recruiter, he always wins these games, and once he now wins, he basically offers them a chance to come play this game that they can win a lot of money, man. And that premise got me hooked, because that show was just peak. The season 1 was great. So it was kind of shocking to see that we didn't see a season 2 for 4 years. We did not see anything. We didn't see any development of the Squid Game franchise. And not only did it shock me, but it shocked the entire world. And now that we are reaching 2025, now that 2025 is literally days away, Netflix decides to give us a Christmas gift. Netflix decides to finally drop Squid Games 2 after we've been waiting. But the thing is, the first season of Squid Games was 4 years ago, man. And 4 years ago is a long time for a lot of people. So I'm not really seeing too much hype for this second season of Squid Games, in my honest opinion. I'm mostly seeing it on Twitter. I'm not really seeing it on any other platform. I'm not really seeing it when I'm talking to my coworkers or I'm talking to my friends. They're not bringing it up as much as they were in season 1 in 2021. But the thing about season 2 of Squid Games is that I watched the first episode of season 2 just now, and I'm gonna tell you what I think about it. But before I do that, I have to tell you what the world is thinking about Squid Game season 2. And it seems that the world is thinking that season 2 is a little bit of a slight mixed bag. And I'm kind of shocked to see that, because the season 1 was universally loved. Season 1 was loved from almost every single aspect and every single part of the globe. So seeing season 2 have these type of reviews from Forbes, where we're seeing Forbes saying season 2 arrives with worse reviews than season 1. USA Today, Squid Game 2 is still violent but more disappointing than season 1. And we're seeing all of these big sites, like even the New York Times, saying Squid Game hits a red light in season 2. And I'm just shocked at seeing how this season is so lower in terms of quality than season 1. So that basically made me decide to watch the first episode of season 1. Now all of their episodes have released, so I haven't even delved into episode 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, and even the final episode, but the first episode is pretty decent. I'll be completely honest with you, because it's still following up the story of the last time we saw these characters. And we're seeing that Seong Ji-hoon and Hwang Jun-ho are basically having to deal with the effects of the entire Squid Games operations. And we're seeing that Seong, he was about to board the plane until he saw the salesman, he saw the recruiter. Then when he now saw the recruiter, he was hell-bent on finding the recruiter. He was hell-bent on taking him down and basically trying to get him arrested. And we're seeing that Hwang Jun-ho, he is also doing that same thing, but not for the recruiter, but for his brother Hwang In-ho, because Hwang, remember, he shot Hwang Jun-ho on top of that cliff. So ever since then, both of these characters are hunting for two people, the salesman slash recruiter and Hwang In-ho. And we're seeing that this hunt for both of these characters, hunting these two characters, is lasting up until 2 years later. And it's crazy to think that the entire Korean government, they do not really give a damn about the wider operations of this mysterious Squid Games. And we're seeing that Seong Ji-hoon, he still kept his money. He still kept the reward money that he earned. So he's using this money to fund a lot of people. I'm thinking that they're probably like gang members, or they're probably people just in need of money and in need of work. So he's funding these people to help him look for the salesman, help him look for the recruiter. And I'll be completely honest with you, man, the recruiter in this first episode is unhinged as fuck. I have not seen him be this unhinged. He is kind of crazy in my honest opinion, and the fact that he's tall, I ain't gonna lie, it makes him more creepier. But we also see that Hwang Jun-ho, he is trying to reluctantly still search for Hwang In-ho, but we're seeing that his hopes are kind of getting dashed because not too many people believe him. Even though he's back being on the police force after the entire event, we see that one of his colleagues, they actually saved his job, because the entire police force were trying to fire Hwang Jun-ho for not only running away and stealing the gun, but for basically being found with a bullet in his chest. So you can understand that the people that surround Seong Ji-hoon and Hwang Jun-ho's lives, they don't believe their stories, because to them it sounds far-fetched. But you can also see that some people are actually believing their stories. In Seong Ji-hoon's case, I forgot his name, but one of the people that he's basically hiring to find the salesman, he's hiring a lot of these guards or a lot of these gang members to go into these subways, and they're basically trying to find the salesman, but they've been failing for 2 years. Every single person that he has hired don't believe Seong Ji-hoon except for one man, and that one man, he's basically motivated by two things: the money Seong Ji-hoon is promising them, and he is trying to find the recruiter because he is seeing that a lot of people that owed him money, a lot of people that owed him a debt, they mysteriously vanished. So I kind of like that aspect, that at least one person will believe it. But we're seeing how these two characters, Seong and Hwan, their motives will soon coincide and clash with each other. But let me go back to Hwang Jun-ho, because the person that believes Hwang Jun-ho is the person that found his almost lifeless corpse that washed upon the shore when he got shot. And ever since then, Hwang and this person that owns a boat, they keep on going to that same location, trying to find that same island. But the person that owns the boat basically is telling Hwang that, look, we've been doing this for 2 years. We have seen this area for 2 years. There are many unknown islands in this location. Why don't we just give it up? So when we now see all of this, we see all these scenes happening, it's all culminating into one location. It's all culminating into one situation, because Seong, he is not stopping on his search for the salesman and the recruiter. So he offers his entire crew the biggest sum of money to find him today, and when you find him, you will get half of that money. So now the crew is amped, the crew is motivated, so they go into all these subways. And when we are about to see that all hope is lost, man, this was funny. We now see them see the salesman, and the salesman is still doing the same sales pitch from season 1, the same dachi game, the same slapping, everything. That's him. They caught him, but they didn't act on it yet because they wanted to know where Swang Ji-hoon was. But when they called Swang Ji-hoon, Swang, he tells them, okay, keep on following him. I'll be right there. Just keep on following him. Just do not lose him. So when that happens, we see the two main characters come together again when Swang, he is driving so fast, he's running red lights, he is basically going over the speed limit. And remember, Hwang, he is a police officer, so coincidentally, Hwang pulls over Swang Ji-hoon, and when it was like a basic routine traffic stop, so they didn't really interact at that scene because Hwang, he had a lower colleague basically interact with Song. But when the traffic stop completed, Swang just zoomed off right after, still going to the location. But we see that the lower lieutenant that was with Hwang, he tells Hwang, look, this guy, he seemed odd. He had a lot of pistols. He had a lot of things and merchandise in his car. Then when Hwang asked for his name, the lower lieutenant tells Hwang that the name is Swang Ji-hoon. Then that made Hwang get an epiphany. It made Hwang realize that, oh shit, a person that I saw in the database, a person that I saw in the files, he's still here. He's still active. I just met him, even though I met him 2 years ago when he tried to ask Swang, look, you gotta help me find my brother. You were in the same games, but Swang, he now declined Hwang's offer of helping him. So this made Hwang, he basically had to search for Swang Ji-hoon. He went through the police database to find Swang Ji-hoon's home. But back to Swang Ji-hoon. Swang Ji-hoon is racing to the location of the recruiter and the salesman. But the thing is, the recruiter, he is so weird that even before this moment, the recruiter, he bought a lot of breads and he bought a lot of lottery cards, and he was trying to basically get these homeless people to take the bread instead of the lottery cards. But the homeless people were just so greedy. But when that happened, I'm just starting to see how unhinged the salesman slash recruiter is, because when they all declined the bread for the lottery ticket, despite some actually accepting the bread, he got all the bread. He threw them down at the middle of the park and he was just stomping on the bread and he was just saying like maniacal things. This nigga is unhinged, man. This nigga is actually crazy. But now back to Swang Ji-hoon trying to locate the salesman. When he reaches the location, it's too late because the two people that were trying to find the recruiter, they got kidnapped. And one of the people that tried to find the recruiter is the person that actually believed Swang Ji-hoon. And man, this scene was pretty crazy when the recruiter, he had a Russian roulette gun and he basically tied up the two gang members that were under Swang Ji-hoon. And remember, one of them is the person that believed him. So he basically is playing Russian roulette, and then he now is adding the stakes. And when he added the stakes, man, that shit was kind of heart racing in my honest opinion. Then he now shot the person that believed Swang Ji-hoon. I knew this nigga was just a cold-blooded killer. But when Swang Ji-hoon gets to that location and Swang now finally tries to go home, this part, it didn't really make sense because I don't know how Swang knew that the recruiter was there. I understand that the recruiter knew about Swang's home because he must have seen some information of Swang, but I don't understand how Swang knew the recruiter was there, but I digress. Then we now see the final act of this entire first episode, and it's Swang confronting the recruiter. So the recruiter and Swang, they're going back and forth, basically telling each other how they hate each other, and the recruiter just basically saying, hey, I'm just a messenger, I'm just a messenger. Then the recruiter now basically challenges Swang to a game of Russian roulette, but this time he's not going to reload the chamber every single cycle. They're just gonna be shooting each other, and it'll be 1/6 of a chance of them dying. So when they were doing that, man, that shit was low-key crazy, and both people had chances of killing each other, but we see that Swang eventually won the game of Russian roulette. And the salesman, I thought he was about to shoot Swang, but the salesman, he's proven to be so cold and so evil that he just willingly accepts his own fate and shoots himself point blank range. And damn, that shit was crazy. But then we see Hwang, he will later reach up to Swang Ji-hoon, and that's the end of the first episode. And to be honest with you, I'm not even gonna lie to you, it's not that bad, in my honest opinion. The first episode is pretty decent. It's pretty good. The pacing was pretty good. I noticed something that they did not go into the games at first, because the first episode of season 1, they went into the games literally in the middle of the first episode. But this episode, they remained at the city. They remained in the city. So I can see why some people were kind of disappointed at the show not instantly going into the games, but I'll have to see why some of these reviews aren't favorable for the show. But that's the end of the video, man. I think the first episode was pretty decent, but I'm seeing that people are saying that the finale is underwhelming and that the finale is basically a cliffhanger to season 3, man. But that's the end of the video. I'm out. Peace.